The Siftpop podcast is recorded in front of a live internet audience, folks.
Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks. When you have opinions, you can either podcast something or podcast nothing. And we already tried podcasting nothing. It's Siftpop. Welcome to Siftpop, streaming live on Mixlr every Friday afternoon or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks. Woo. I'm Aaron Dicer from YourMovieFriend.com. I'm joined by Andrew Ormsby every week from Flick Freaks.
Ahoy.
And every week we'll also be joined by a pop culture guru to chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our brains. This week's guru from MusicVideoSins, it's Barrett.
Woo! Hello, everyone.
It is so good to have you back. We chatted your Sift shame on the Patron pre-show, so if you support the podcast network Studio DNA, you can take a listen to that in your podcast feed. Also wanted to shout out million subs, dude.
Yes.
You hit 1 million for MusicVideoSins.
Congratulations.
Yep.
How's that journey been for you?
Oh man, it's been so much fun. I watch a lot of music videos, man, and probably a good 89% of them are pretty rough.
Wow, that's so generous.
It's so much fun though, man. I love doing it, and we're gonna keep on trucking, man. We've got some good ones, tasty treats coming out to you next week.
Do you ever do, you do classics sometimes too, right? Like, you don't just do new music videos. Like, you'll go back and, tag something from before too. Like, what's one of your favorite, old school music videos that you've done sins for?
All right, so my favorite music video of all time is probably Aerosmith's Crying, that featured Alicia Silverstone back in 1993. And we did that one, and then most recently we did Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend, and that was a lot of fun to do, too.
Well, you can check it out at MusicVideoSins. It's a part of the CinemaSins YouTube family thing. I think there's, Brand Sins?
Yes.
I always think when the first time I heard somebody say Brand Sins, I was like, oh, I live near Branson. It's just right down the road.
Such a sinful town.
Speaking of which, we can talk about this right now, too. You mentioned, unless maybe you've got it in the Do We Care, there's an Ozarks TV show coming based here in the area. Is that in your Do We Care this week?
No, I was just, bringing that up last night. That show looks so good.
Yeah.
Jason Bateman,
and it takes place right here in the Ozarks. So
Netflix original. It looks good. It looks like a Winter's Bone Fargo sort of thing. I like it.
I really think they should, do all their press through us, right? We're right here in the area. All the interviews, everything should come here through Siftpop, right? Come right. We are yours, Jason Bateman. All you got to do is, reach out. We'd be willing to have you on.
Always money in the banana stand.
There is always money in the banana stand. We are going to have a great show today. We're going to talk Wonder Woman, of course. We're going to do a best ever challenge on alliterative movies, which I'm looking forward to. And, of course, we'll do a Sift Quest and Buried Treasure, all that fun stuff. But first, let's start with some Do We Care?
Every single week I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world, and we can discuss these three topics and decide whether we care to discuss them further or not. Help me out with this first one, Aaron. I don't know if we've done this one yet or not.
Sure.
Okay. Tom Hardy has been cast as Sony's Venom in a standalone film.
I've talked about it a lot with people, but I don't remember if we've talked about it on the show.
Okay. I didn't either. I just wanted to make sure, because it's kind of big news.
I think it's really sad that neither of us know what we talk about on our own show.
Yeah. I've slept since our last show, so.
That's true. My thing is always this: Tom Hardy's great. I don't have much more to say than that until I actually see the movie and then know, how things work out. What about you, Barrett?
Well, he's developed a pretty good track record, even something as innocuous as Locke, that was entirely dependent on his performance.
So good.
I'll probably go along with anything he does. Mad Max, The Revenant. He's got too good of a track record for me to really turn my nose up at this.
Yeah. There are times when you hear of actors you love getting involved in projects you wish they would rather not. I think it was actually Jeremy was tweeting something about something Haley Steinfeld was going to get involved in, and he was like, "No, Haley, no."
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. I'm just a wait and see kind of guy. So if I love the actor or the actress, then obviously something drew them to the project. And if that was dollar bills, then fine, that was dollar bills, and maybe it won't be artistically worthwhile, but, at least give him a shot.
I hope it is. Venom is one of my favorite Marvel villains. He might actually be my favorite Marvel villain, so
very cool.
I just hope they do it right. Number 2. Guys, strap in because Tom Cruise is once again going to take us to the danger zone because Top Gun 2 is starting next year.
Nice. Is it coming out next year?
I think they're going to start filming, and then it will release the same year, I think.
That movie does not hold up. That movie is awful.
I think it's because it's a nostalgia factor for me at this time.
No, I totally get it. I'm just telling you, the last time I watched that was, I think, within the last year or so. It was on somewhere, someone was watching it, whatever, and I'm just watching it going, this is just bad. Like,
is it the volleyball scene?
Well, the volleyball scene's weird. Yeah, it's a little bit interesting, but even just the dialogue and the performances. I mean, Tom's great. He's usually great, but man, I don't know. It doesn't hold up well, in my opinion.
I just see myself as Goose because of the stash. It's not going to end well for me, Aaron.
Give us a Top Gun hot take, Barrett.
It's got great music. You got the Kenny Loggins stuff, and then you've got You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling moment in the bar.
Yeah.
It's always fun to watch.
There you go.
But yeah, you're right. A lot of it does not hold up.
Just throw on the soundtrack.
Either that or you can watch.
Exactly.
Just watch Hot Shots.
In theaters, 2018, the Top Gun soundtrack.
Number 3, Tom Holland has been cast as a young Nathan Drake in the film adaptation of oh man, I got to get through this. Tom Holland has been cast as a young Nathan Drake in the film adaptation of Uncharted. Boo! Boo!
But you know what? You don't like Tom Holland, or you just wanted Nathan Fillion?
I don't want an Uncharted movie.
Oh, I see.
This is one of the, because I'm always wanting there to be one good video game movie.
Uh-huh.
This isn't going to be it. It's too much like Indiana Jones to where they're just going to, people are going to knock it for being Indiana Jones.
Tomb Raider's kind of the same thing, though, right? Like, it's the same idea.
It's a female protagonist, and
sure.
Tomb Raider, I find, is a little bit more mystical than even, I think even Indiana Jones can kind of lean more towards realism.
Did you see Indiana Jones 4?
Besides it, oh, okay. Touche, Wilson. Well played, sir.
Yeah. No, it doesn't bother me. I'll wait and see. And I do like Tom Holland from what I've seen him in, so
yeah,
he seems to do good work. What do you think, Barrett?
I've never played that game, but video game movies don't have a good track record. Man, we just did Assassin's Creed for CinemaSins, and I've never seen a collection of talent so good that, and I'm arguing against myself with this Tom Hardy take that I had, but
sure.
that Fassbender and Cotillard and
Irons.
Who was it?
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons, yeah. I mean, and this guy, the director, had just done Macbeth like the year before. So anyway,
with all of those people, right?
Yeah.
With all of those people, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I never get hyped for any video game movies.
We can always lean on Mortal Kombat as the one good.
You can always lean on Mortal Kombat. That's the one good video game.
If that's the pinnacle, if that is it, that's the high water mark, then that's a rough genre right there.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Does that wrap it up?
That's going to wrap it up. It was a quick Do We Care week.
No, that's cool. Let's move on to talking about Wonder Woman.
What is your mission?
To stop the war.
What war?
The war to end all wars. Weapons far deadlier than you can ever imagine.
The war can be ours.
Wherever you are in more danger than you think.
I cannot stand by while innocent lives are lost. Be careful, Diana.
Who is this woman?
She's my secretary, sir. She's a very good secretary.
Wonder Woman stars Gal Gadot as everyone's favorite Amazonian princess warrior in what happens when she enters the war-torn world of men with the help of Chris Pine and his band of quirky outcasts. It's an origin story for Wonder Woman. DCU putting a little humor into their world, a little lightness into their world, perhaps, and doing a solo story. Here's a question. How did it work out? Did you like it, love it? It was okay, dislike it, or hate it? We'll start with you, Barrett. What do you think?
You know what? I kind of like this movie.
Kind of liked it.
Yeah, I had very low expectations, even though I saw that glaring 97% Rotten Tomatoes score as I was walking into the theater.
Is it 97 on Rotten Tomatoes?
It was 97 as of last night.
Wow.
I don't know, what's happened, but
That means 97% of critics gave it a C+.
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, they're hinged on Gal Gadot's. Is it Gadot? Is that her name?
I say Godot, but I don't know. So
regardless, her performance, man, was just absolutely pitch perfect. I mean, this one really. She had the nice balance between like being a fierce warrior and then just enjoying it. I don't know. It was cool. It was a good movie.
what did you think, Andrew?
I loved it.
You're in the loved it
I
camp.
loved this movie so much.
I am in the. Oh man, I am just on the border of loved it. I'm right on that border of liked it, loved it. I had such a great time with this movie.
You really liked it.
I really liked it. You hit on a lot of it already, Barrett, and we'll go ahead and start, talking the good stuff. But we have to start with Gal because she is so perfect for this role.
Yeah.
And here's what I love about her. And I haven't seen this well done since The Force Awakens, a female protagonist that is super strong, super sturdy, and super feminine at the same time. Like there's no sacrifice of herself as a woman or anything like that to become the strength. I get a feeling in a lot of especially older movies. The one I go to is Alien. You think of Ridley. You think in Ridley's a great character. But the idea was often, okay, the woman who can hang with the boys, be like the boys, be strong and muscular and, those kind of things. And that's okay if that's who you want to be. But the women who are strong in my life that I know are, beautiful, graceful, strong, amazing women. And I love it when a movie can capture the fact that you don't have to sacrifice your femininity to be strong. And I loved that here, just like I loved it with Rey in The Force Awakens.
Girl power is for real, man.
The key is, like, you don't have to be like anybody else to be better. You don't have to be like a man to be better. Just, embrace who you are and, go with it. So I love that.
I love the fact that this movie was set in a time period where misogyny reigned supreme, and this woman shows up, and not only is she defiant against every single quote-unquote powerful male figure, but she can back it up in a way that I've never seen a movie do. Maybe Furiosa and Fury Road, but I think that Gal takes it to a completely another level in this movie, and I absolutely thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, I think we can get into talking about the action, kind of jumping off of that, because the action in this is really exhilarating.
Yeah.
There are a few nitpicky CG moments where you can tell, like, it's, pixels being thrown around the screen instead of a real person. But that's kind of few and far between. For the most part, I was really invested in the action here.
As a DC fanboy, I got to say, knowing that Wonder Woman is the greatest fighter in all of DC, I had a very high bar set for like the combat choreography. Like, if she doesn't look like she's the greatest fighter of all time, then I'm going to be really upset. But she was so good.
Did you like the action, Barrett?
I really did. I mean, especially that middle piece where she's storming the front and everything. But what you can tell, you hit on it, Aaron. There is some obvious CG moments, and you can almost tell that Patty Jenkins doesn't really have a big history of this kind of thing,
right?
And maybe doesn't have this super fine-tuned things, but it's not like it's worse than anything we've seen in superhero movies before, though. So, but yeah, I thought they were exhilarating. She can ground. What I really love, and this was the only redeeming part of Batman versus Superman to me, is when they're fighting Doomsday, and it cuts to Wonder Woman being thrown in the dirt somewhere, and she breaks into this smile and goes right back in, and she's got that kind of thing as throughout this movie where she's loving the battle. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. What else stood out to you?
Chris Pine, he was so good. I didn't know what kind of version of Steve Trevor they were going to go for. But I think that he actually captured several different versions of, that character that's been in the comic books. Like sometimes he's the protective one, I just need to protect you because you don't understand the world. And that's really what he was protecting her from. But at the same time, he's like, I know what you can do. And there are some times where he's just really funny. But Chris Pine has that ability to just, he's magnetic, really.
Yes.
So
yeah, he's great on screen. He's so charismatic. The thing that they got right with this movie, that is something I've been saying for a long time, is they understood that the lightness of the movie, the humor of the movie, which I think Chris Pine is responsible for a lot of this. Mm-hmm. He's not solely responsible, but he's responsible for a lot of this. That it's not just about inserting jokes. It's not just about, joke here, joke there. It's about having characters that are lighthearted enough that we enjoy spending time with them. I have never enjoyed spending time with Batman in the last few movies, or with the new version of Superman. Like, they're not people I want to hang out with. Chris Pine's character,
depressing.
Chris Pine's character, and even Wonder Woman in this. These are people I want to hang out with. Like, they're fun to be around. Mm-hmm. You can't underestimate that. And I think DC has been missing that, and they're going to find that is a beautiful ingredient in the secret sauce of a blockbuster, is to have characters that people actually want to spend time with.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem forced in this one, because even in my opinion, like Age of Ultron and stuff like that, they were trying to force witty banter into the dialogue that was more organic in the first one. And with this, all the way through, I mean, his secretary and, all the characters have a really good timing with each other. And Chris Pine and Diana Prince, the character, have a great rapport. And especially on that boat scene where she's like, "Oh, you don't sleep with women."
That's so
like,
good.
Oh, yeah, no. But that's where the levity comes from. It's very organic. It's not forced.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, and this will be my final kind of big positive, maybe the biggest positive for me, I absolutely adored the theme of this movie.
I love the theme so much.
Oh, it's...
Sorry.
No.
Excited.
It's so good. The idea of being in a divided world and still seeing everybody as a human who is valued and worth loving and worth showing mercy to and giving grace to, and the opportunity to change and grow. Man, I think we need to hear that right now. And because increasingly we are becoming the kind of culture that just divides and calls each other names and yells at each other instead of trying to fight for dialogue. This movie in many ways was beautifully naive. It was one of those things, and I love that, where it's just like, no, you don't lose hope in that stuff. You keep hoping. You keep, hoping for people, and I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm going to add on to that, because that was actually going to be one of my last things is about, femininity and girl power and stuff like that, and I was all on board for that. But when it actually had something to say about humanity as a whole, I mean, the way that, humans treat each other and how, from an outside looking in perspective, we can seem irredeemable at times, but I'm not saying that, we've been blind to that, because there have been many movies that have said that before, but I think this movie in particular displayed that in a way that I found very fascinating.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great. Now, Barrett, were you talking about those themes of mercy and grace, or were you talking about the musical theme? I'm just curious.
What you guys just said was beautiful, and I was excited about the musical theme. And it was. I love the thematic elements that you guys are talking about, but that tribal drum and electric guitar
it's so good.
Theme is
it gets you pumped.
Tied with maybe Superman as my favorite superhero theme of all time. It's beautifully simplistic, and it just gets the heart racing. I've listened to it probably 15 times today.
Oh, as soon as that music comes on, somebody's going to get their butt kicked in a royal way, and you're on the edge of your seat just waiting for it. Like, oh, it's going to be that guy. Oh, okay, on to the next one now.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And that's just, that just goes to show that it takes a lot of pieces coming together to make a good movie, and this movie has a lot of those pieces. So let's talk about some of the pieces, unless you guys had something else positive that you wanted to bring to the forefront. Let's start talking about what we didn't like, because it's not a perfect movie. There are certainly some things that, I think could have been done a little bit better, but what did you guys think?
There's one thing I'm going to have to wait until spoilers to talk about for cons, but one of the things I can talk about now is there was very few parts in this film, but they were there where the pacing kind of just, drooped off. I'm like, okay, you could have trimmed that down just a little bit to make it more cohesive. Like, there was like this, it was building up to something huge, and, after that, it just kind of died off a little too long for it to pick up again for that finale.
I had 3 moments. This is my only negative. My only big negative, I should say.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of nitpicky. My only big negative, there were at least 3 moments, and this ties exactly into what you're saying, where I had look at your watch kind of moments, where I'm like, okay, we've slowed down to the point where I'm getting distracted by wanting to move this forward. Some of that was exposition. I think the exposition could have been handled a little bit tighter. There were some scenes that just, for whatever reason, I think sometimes you get in the editing booth and you just like your stuff too much and you just can't get rid of it. Yeah. But there were some scenes that I just felt, I don't know that this scene even needed to be in the movie, or if it did, it could have been a much quicker kind of get to the punch of the scene.
Yeah.
So there were those moments, and especially when you look at the end and you go, 2 hours and 20 some minutes.
Was it really that long?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really feel like they could cut about 20 minutes off this movie, and it could have been about almost a perfect film.
Yeah.
Barrett, what about you?
No, we're all dancing around the same subject. I had the exact same opinion. There was times where they were just repeating the same thing over and over about those themes that you guys were talking about, like humanity is good, and no, this is the way things are. No, this is the way things are back on my island, And yes, it could have lost 20 minutes and really could have been a tight, really outstanding superhero movie. But those times where it really dragged for me.
Yeah, and I do think there was some repeating that went on with the themes that could have been cut. But I think it's valuable that the movie spent time with the characters and with some of that dialogue and getting to know their relationships and who they are. I think the problem is just living too long in those moments, or like you say, repeating those moments again when we've already gotten it, and there's not something fresh or new there, to see or learn. I feel like maybe it. And I know it's hard. I've never edited a feature-length film. I've done video editing on some creative projects, those kind of things. It is hard to get rid of stuff you love, even when it doesn't serve the story perfectly. It is. I think it is the key element of filmmaking is cutting things out.
Yeah.
But this is the big complaint of the DC movies, and this is a minor complaint in something like this. But when you have these overlong, overbloated, overvillained, DC projects, that should be at the forefront of your mind. You want to make something that's snappy, especially if it's an origin story like this. So you would think that would have been, number right up there on their checklist of saying, like, maybe we should, get this nice and lean,
Yeah, totally agree.
Having said all that, though, I do appreciate the fact, because it could have been really easy for them to just develop the characters for Diana and for Steve, but they took the time to develop the side characters as well and make you care about them. And it could have been so easy for them to just say, this is going to be the scrappies that come along with us. But no, I actually found myself caring about some of those other people as well. So
no, I totally agree. And that's not the stuff I would cut. I wouldn't.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying at the same time, I appreciate the fact that they did that, and I know that was a factor to adding to the length of the film, but there are other parts of the movie that could have been cut.
I think I can say this. I don't think this is a spoiler. I will say one scene that I didn't understand why it was as long as it was, or, maybe I get why it was there. I think I get the essence of it. But the dress-up Wonder Woman scene just seemed to me like it just kept going on and on with, different outfits and different things. And it's like, okay, we already get the central premise of what you're trying to say here.
Yeah.
We don't need to see her in 50 different outfits. Just stuff like that where it's, I think it just could have been tightened up overall.
Yeah.
One last thing. Everybody got one more thing they want to say about the movie?
Yeah, I have one last thing.
All right, what do you got?
If I had a daughter, I'd want her to look up to this film.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, this is the first film I could really champion for like a young girl and say, this is your movie, girl power. And I would wear my girl power shirt while I watch this. I am going to watch this movie a lot. This is not going to be a one and done for me. I see myself watching this movie so many times.
Yeah. There was a little girl sitting behind us. Did you hear her?
Mm-mm.
So there was a little girl sitting behind us. She was probably, I'm guessing, 6, 7, or 8, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And she was having a good time, but she was asking questions through the entire movie.
Was she?
Yeah. And it reminded me that as much as it's awesome that little girls, have a superhero to look up to, it just reminded me that the way these movies are made a lot of times don't tell stories in a way that the younger audience are going to follow them very well.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good reminder to me. I would say,
teen.
Yeah, well, I'd even say like 9, like that 9, 10, preteen and up kind of group, I think can get a lot from this movie. But younger than that, I think it's more just like cool things on the screen, maybe that kind of stuff. But I don't know. That was just the experience I heard through the voice of the little girl behind me.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Barrett? You got one more thing on the movie?
I tell you what I did like was how they used the lasso of truth.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, but they used it very thoughtfully. The times where it comes out are like needed exposition, and there's a really cool moment where Chris Pine grabs it himself and has a really fun moment. So I like that, man. It's the little details like that that really make something shine.
Totally agree. My one last thing is that it is so wonderful to see DC make a movie like this.
Yeah.
Pun completely intended. Wonderful. It is also a little bit depressing because if we got this movie in an Aquaman movie that was made with this much care, in maybe even one of the other characters before we got Justice League, can you imagine how much better that movie would be? Even just knowing who Wonder Woman is through this movie has made me more excited to see that movie because I feel like I know who she is. That's what I always loved about the Marvel stuff is like I knew who Steve Rogers was from his movie, and so I had all that background in that kind of depth that I could lay on top of, the Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I actually like this movie way more than the first Captain America movie, and I'm making that reference because they're both period piece origin stories.
They're very similar. Wonder Woman in many ways is their Captain America.
Yeah, and I like this way more than I liked.
No, I would disagree with that. I still love the first Captain America movie.
That's one of my least favorite Marvel movies. But anyway, we did see this in IMAX Laser, and I know we've championed it every single time. But if you have the opportunity to see a movie, I say this is a really good one to see in IMAX Laser. Oh, it was gorgeous.
It was so amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right to make the comparisons to Captain America, and that's what I'm saying. Like to know these characters in that way before this other stuff happened. I mean, even Batman v Superman, like, to be able to have that come later, do the solo Batman movie with this new DCU Batman before you get into all that stuff. The rush to catch up to Marvel has hindered them in so many ways, and this is a nice first step to get out of that, but it's kind of depressing to know they could have handled it differently and had a much better,
Are you afraid
experience.
It's going to be a one step forward, two steps back kind of thing with Justice League now?
I don't know. I just know I would love to have the kind of experience with those other characters that I've had with Wonder Woman to really enjoy that movie fully.
It's definitely a step in the right direction for the DCEU.
Yeah, I ended up giving it an A-, so I really did enjoy it. But there are enough flaws that I wasn't going to kind of go into that hollowed ground of kind of the AA+ range. So
yeah,
where would you end up landing with it?
A-.
Yeah, somewhere around there too. Yeah. Barrett, you're probably around the B+ range.
Yeah, exactly. I'd probably give it a solid B, and maybe if I watch it a couple of times, a B+. I mean, it definitely is enjoyable. I really think I can't wait until we get into spoilers, but there's one big spoilery thing that bugs the bejesus out of me in this movie. Glad I got to keep that PG, by the way.
We will get there for sure in spoilers. First, let's move on to the best ever challenge. Before we do that, though, if you are supporting on Patreon, first of all, thank you. It's patreon.com/StudioDNA for the network. The support has grown in the last couple months to the point that once Danae is back, who's a big part of the Studio DNA podcast network, we're actually going to be adding shows to the network. So thank you for that support, growing the network. We appreciate it. If you want to know, you get for like $3 a month, some of the perks you get involve your own podcast feed where you get special bonus podcasts that don't show up in the regular feed that come straight to your device, just like the regular podcast feed would. And also you can know you're supporting the network. So thank you for that. Very humbling to know that people actually put their own dollar bills towards this stuff. It means a lot to us. You can find that again at patreon.com/StudioDNA. All right, let's do the best ever challenge. Threw a kind of a little different one out there this week. Best ever alliterative movies. This means the movie title is alliteration. Now, I said, I think in the email, same letter. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be same letter if it's same sound. So like, a hard C and a K could still be alliterative.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If that were the case. And you can go ahead and include words like the or of
or
for. Yeah, kind of those article words. We'll go ahead and let those through. We'll do our best three, our top three movies, best ever movies with alliteration in the title. And then we'll also do some honorable mentions. Now, remember, if you have one higher than it's mentioned from someone else, feel free to say Trump, and we'll wait and talk about it when it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm just going to say right now, I wrote down 15. I'm not going to list them all, obviously, but I just couldn't stop writing because there were so many good ones. But
I found this really fun to try to think of these. I have, here's what I try to do with this stuff for honorable mention is I only pick movies that I really, really like. I don't have to love it beyond the moon, but I have to at least really, really like it. And I was surprised by how many movies I really, really like have alliteration in the titles. But I'm going to start at number 3 with King Kong.
Yep.
King Kong.
Oh, wow.
And I'd say go ahead and pick either one, although I'm primarily talking about the first one.
Yeah, the 38.
Yeah. The one that was before any of us were born by many, many years. Very groundbreaking with its use of stop motion, with, just kind of the emotion it put into it, the idea of this, giant villain not being a monster, but, actually being protective. It's a theme you see continued in, the Kong movies that are coming out now. I think it's what defines these movies is that idea, and I really, really love it. So that's my number 3.
Nice.
Barrett, why don't you go next?
Okay, well, we're trafficking in the same era a little bit. Mine is Funny Face.
Oh, nice.
From 1957. This stars Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire, features songs by George Gershwin, and is delightful.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
You will love this movie. You will fall in love with it. It's a little more high-minded than these kind of romp-style movies are. There's a lot of kind of amateur philosophizing takes place in New York and then Paris. But it's just absolutely adorable. And it has one of my favorite performances from Fred Astaire because he's grumpy throughout most of this movie. And you never see grumpy Fred Astaire. That's so much fun. So I would definitely recommend this. This is a very, very fun movie.
That's going to be the name of my new indie rock band, Grumpy Fred Astaire. That's amazing. What about you, Andrew? What you got at number 3?
For number 3, I'm gonna go with Gone Girl.
Yeah, good choice. That was in my honorable mentions.
Was it? Yeah. Man, Ben Affleck, David Fincher, they killed it. Neil Patrick Harris. And I'll tell you what put this movie over the top for me is the fact that Tyler Perry is in this movie, and I don't hate him.
It's a very different Tyler Perry in this movie.
Exactly. I mean, he's charismatic and debonair, and I'm like, I want to hang out with that guy. He just seems so cool.
I think that's the real Tyler Perry.
I think you don't.
I think you don't get to be as successful as he is without being that cool and connective to people in real life.
I don't think he's Medea. I'm just saying that in this movie, I found him to be fascinating, and I loved him.
What if somebody did think Medea was the real Tyler Perry? That'd be amazing.
The fact I never read the book, so going into this, I was completely blind as to what how the story was going to progress, and I was so caught up, okay, what's really going to happen? What's really going to happen? And when it was revealed to me how this was going to go, I'm like, I'm in. I am in for the rest of this. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I thought Gone Girl was much better than I expected it to be. So that's a great choice.
And just one last thing: the fact that Ben Affleck keeps screwing up and doing the dumbest things, like smiling for the camera. So what are you doing?
But you can identify too, right? Haven't you been in that moment?
That's
it's just I'm not handling this well. I'm coming off sounding so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
He's a big old idiot.
As are we all. My number 2 is Liar, Liar.
Good call.
Nice.
People know I have a soft spot in my heart for this movie. I think it is one of the greatest comedies ever made. It is the movie where I officially learned that Jim Carrey was beyond just a pratfall actor, that he actually had something, and you can see it in this movie, that he's got the ability to tug on the heartstrings and those kind of things. Now, it is a flat-out comedy. It's not a drama. It is a comedy. And it has a weird, crazy premise, and, it is over the top. But, man, the laughs per minute in this one for me are amazing. It's just... It is one of those instances of perfect casting for a concept.
Yeah.
For him to be that person who can't tell. That whole the pen is blue stuff. I could watch that scene over and over. It is masterwork of physical and verbal comedy. It's amazing.
I keep going back to the bathroom scene in the courthouse.
Yeah.
That's every single time I think of Liar Liar, I'm kicking my butt.
Yeah, or the policeman, when the policeman stops him and he admits everything that he was doing. Like there's just, and one thing, the last time I watched this, like within the last year with one of my sons, because he wanted to see it, and I forgot how awesome the outtakes in that movie are.
The credit outtakes.
Yeah, they do outtakes in the credits, and I was dying. They end it with this amazing outtake where they're yelling names at each other.
She calls him an overactor.
She goes, overactor. And it takes him this split second to realize what she did, and he just breaks. It's just, it's so pure and so amazing. I love Liar Liar.
Yeah, that's a good call. Barrett, what is your number 2?
All right, I'm going to go with 2012's Pitch Perfect.
Nice.
Hey.
That was on my honorable mentions.
This is an utterly charming movie. I did not expect to like this movie at all. I got kind of roped into seeing it with my wife, and man, I mean, really from the opening part, I mean, it's just where they keep going back to singing Ace of Bases, I Saw the Sign, just is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And,
Of all
I don't
the
know,
songs.
yeah, it's hilarious, but the cast is great. Anna Kendrick, you can't get more precocious and charming and beautiful than Anna Kendrick in this type of environment. It's light and breezy, but it holds up to a lot of rewatching, and because I've done it, and it's still enjoyable. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Banks and what's his name as the announcers. It's just perfect side characters in that movie.
John Michael Higgins.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's
just so great.
Man, they're great. And what's terrible about the second one is what's so great about the first one. They introduced those characters, these ridiculous announcers, for an a cappella competition, by the way, needs announcers.
Yeah.
But because they're kind of going off the whole cotton thing from a dodgeball, they put these characters in, but very sparingly. And exactly the opposite happens in Pitch Perfect 2, where they take like a very prominent role.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah,
I agree. Although I think I liked Pitch Perfect 2 probably more than you, but no, that was absolutely a mistake. It reminds me a lot of, they remind me a lot of Christopher Guest stuff. Of course, he's done a lot of Christopher Guest stuff, but like you think of like the best in show announcers, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like it's just the perfect side character, to comment on a world that is so strange. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah.
What do you got at number 2, Andrew?
Wayne's World, part-time,
nice
excellent. Oh, man, this movie is almost perfect for me. It fits right into my wheelhouse as far as humor is concerned. It has my childhood crush, Tia Carrere, and also my other childhood crush, Rob Lowe. This movie, I mean, it's referential humor, and it's self-referential at the same time. That scene where it's the product placement, like the Pepsi, the Nuprin, little yellow different, and that scene kills me. Oh, it's and what's his name? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now, but
Mike Myers?
No, not Mike Myers.
Dana Carvey?
No, they're Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill in the donut shop, and he keeps talking about, like, I killed the man, and you can see the steam coming out of his body in the winter.
That's so great. So much fun.
But I think out of all the scenes in that entire movie, the Foxy Lady scene is like one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever.
Good choice. Good choice. All right, it's our number 1. So we have no repeats so far.
Very nice.
My number 1 is Sixth Sense.
Good call.
Nice.
I am a huge M. Night fan. I was apologist for him all the way up until the worst movie ever made, which is The Last Airbender. And then I, was so excited to see him make his comeback this year, or actually starting last year, was when, people were like, oh, look, he's actually making, the kind of movies that are good again.
I still need to see The Visit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as Split in my opinion, but, it's, still you can see him coming back to what he loves. And
were you pure, Aaron, when you saw The Sixth Sense for the first time?
No, I was not.
Unspoiled?
I was spoiled.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
For Sixth Sense?
No, for Split.
Yeah, he asked about Sixth Sense.
Oh, I thought you said...
No, I was pure for Split, man.
Yeah.
I was,
nice.
Yeah,
me too.
That's why I say, you're a liar. I was in the theater with you when you saw Split.
Yeah, I was going nuts.
Yeah.
But no, for Sixth Sense, I actually was spoiled, and I still really enjoyed the movie. I know. I mean, I've had obviously experiences like that with, for instance, Fight Club. I was unspoiled and had no clue where that was going. That one nailed me, and I've had those other experiences, so I know how much that can make you love a movie even more. But for me, I fell in love with M. Night because of the way he shot movies. It was the first person, since I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, it was the first person I'd seen since Hitchcock who really understood how to use framing for that kind of suspense. And man, he is a genius of creative framing and shots and, interesting ways to look at situations. So that's how I fell in love with him.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Nice
man.
pick.
Thanks.
It's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, just because I hate ghosts.
Yeah,
they freak me out.
Yeah.
I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them, but they still freak me out. I don't know how that works, but
I still think Bruce Willis is the perfect actor for M. Night. I feel like M. Night's kind of like slow and sturdy suspense, speaking of alliteration, is perfect for kind of Willis's wheelhouse. I'm just like alliteration all over the place. What's your number one?
So speaking of scary movies, my number one is Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. That was on my honorable mentions.
Surprisingly, this is the 2004 version. This is the one that was directed by Zack Snyder and written by James Gunn.
Wow.
I love it. I'm not like a huge zombie movie aficionado or anything like that, but I do like apocalyptic movies. And this one is, really it's a social satire because it's set in a mall and everything. And it's, of course, all these different personalities trying to figure out how they're going to react to this zombie apocalypse. But it's really well paced. It's really well shot. Sarah Polley turns in a good performance, and it's just really fun. It's the most fun that you will ever see with zombies eating somebody's face off.
That movie hits the ground running, pun intended, because it starts you off as, it's going down. And I say running because this is the first time I can remember zombies running in a movie, and it freaked me out. I'm like, they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. I think the most...
Yeah, because it was 2007 was 28 days later, I think, right? No, that was 28 weeks later. 28 days later was 2002, I guess.
Oh, was it really?
Right?
So I guess that was first.
But this is such a different take on the Romero zombies that are just, the number is the threat and not their athleticism.
I think the most fun I've ever had watching zombies eat people's faces off is Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a pretty amazing movie.
What's her name was in Wonder Woman, the secretary?
Was she in Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, she was Diane, the actress.
I don't remember that.
Okay, so the secretary in Wonder Woman.
Yes,
she's the blonde.
She was hilarious, by the way, in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she was great. She's the actress girlfriend in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch. Very cool. Yeah. That just leaves you, Andrew. Now, what's your number one?
V for Vendetta.
Oh, nice.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Cried my eyes out because of how powerful the first time I saw it, like in theaters, I'm like, wow, this movie has something to say that for some reason I just really related to. Maybe it was because the Afghan and Iraq War had just started whenever that movie came out, and I had a lot of friends who joined the army and were over there, and I'm like, and I was in, the early or that late teen kind of, I'm against the world kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that's why that kind of whole that totalitarian government thing, and I'm like, oh, this is what we're heading toward. I was an idiot back then, obviously, but I was like, oh, this is where we're heading right now, and this is going to be, this is a documentary pretty much. But for some reason, even though that part of me faded away, Hugo Weaving's performance, despite the fact you never see his face, is one of the most prominent performances for me that really stands out. Natalie Portman kills it. She is so good. That's one of my favorites.
I don't know as humanity will ever be beyond. I hold out hope, but I don't know that we'll ever be beyond the idea of governments being corrupt and anarchy being something that feels attractive. There's an attractiveness to the idea of just blowing up the system, and I think V for Vendetta speaks to that. I think that will always be a part of humans governing other humans. That's just the way it's going to be. So. Nobody has discovered the perfect government, and I don't know that anybody ever will, because it's just, it's a difficult thing, especially when you're dealing with a mass scale, like big countries and, and now a world that feels closer than it's ever felt before, right? Like this world it feels smaller than it's ever been because of technology.
Yeah.
And yet we have to figure out how to govern each other, and that's a tough thing. So.
Yeah.
And if your government has John Hurt in a creepy, big screen, you know you're headed in the wrong direction.
England prevails.
Nicely done. Well, let's throw out some honorable mentions. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a bunch, and then you can cross them off your list, Andrew, if you've got them. We'll just kind of none of us mentioned Batman Begins.
That was going to be one of them, yeah.
Which I think is one of the better ones. Vegas Vacation.
I guess, yeah, you could count that, yeah.
Donnie Darko is another one nobody mentioned.
Not a fan, but I will allow it.
My second Jim Carrey movie in the category, Dumb and Dumber.
I'm going to mark it off.
Fast Five.
Going to mark it off.
Good movie. Blues Brothers. Nobody mentioned the Blues Brothers. Wanted to make sure we get that in there. Mad Max.
Mark it off.
One of my favorites, Mystery Men. Ben Stiller.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
I rewatched that the other day. You know what? It holds up.
I think so, too. I think it's a really fun movie.
And then I realized that Michael Bay is in that movie. He's one of the frat brothers.
There's a lot of weird cameos in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Ben Stiller, I don't think enough has been said about his career, because he really has an interesting career and has been responsible for some really great stuff over the years.
Ben Stiller shows hilarious.
Yeah, even his TV show. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's overlooked quite a bit, but
yeah.
I was saying this the other day. I love Ben Stiller movies. I never really liked Ben Stiller in those movies. Like he's never like my favorite part of those movies. I love Tropic Thunder. He's not the best part of Tropic Thunder by far. I love The Cable Guy. He kind of steals the show as the Stan and Sam Sweet thing. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I think he steals Dodgeball. I think that's his movie. A lot of people.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Did you have any others you're going to mark it off?
I have just a couple others. Beauty and the Beast, and let's see, Matchstick Men. Then in the chat was mentioned Seven Samurai, which I think is a good choice. And somebody mentioned Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which doesn't technically count, but I get it. I get where you're going with that.
Yeah.
And then the only 3-word title, like 3 alliterations, like not including the articles, that I had in my list was Horton Hears a Who. And nice. I did enjoy that. Well, that's actually a third Jim Carrey movie. Look at that.
There you go.
Horton Hears a Who. I did think about What Women Want, but that wasn't a great movie.
I'm surprised you didn't put Baby in the Corner with Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Dirty Dancing fan.
Oh, well, you're allowed to be wrong. It's okay.
What about you, Barrett? Do you have any in your honorable mentions that we haven't mentioned?
I've got a quadruple one for you. Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Oh. Wow, I don't even know if I know what that is.
Oh, that's an Elizabeth Olsen movie about a woman that grew up with or has spent a lot of time with a cult leader and is trying to reintegrate into society. It's very interesting.
I had heard about that movie.
It's obviously heavy, but it came out a few years ago, and it's very, very good. And the other one, which is just kind of, for whatever reason, I love this movie, and I shouldn't, Saving Silverman.
Yeah.
You're allowed to like that one.
Yeah, if it's their affection for Neil Diamond or what it is, but Arlie Ermey and Jack Black and Steve Zahn and Jason I just love it. I love it.
You don't need to do it does the for you.
Mentioned in the chat, Bad Boys, Hudson Hawk, Beach Blanket Bingo. There's another 3-word.
Hudson Hawk is one of my dad's favorite movies, and I give him crap for it all the time.
David in the chat throwing out some 3 words or more. House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit 451, although the 1, I don't know if we would count that. Bye Bye Birdie's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good musical. And then he mentions Debbie Does Dallas.
I got 2.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Could you count Guardians of the Galaxy?
You sure can.
All right, there we go. And the Muppet movie.
Oh, yeah.
We're moving right along.
Man, I hadn't thought about Guardians. I might have put that above King Kong.
Would you?
Really love the original Guardians, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, probably not. It's probably still be in my honorable mentions. Well, there you go. The best ever movies that feature alliteration in the title. I love it when we all have 3 different ones. Like no repeats. Like 9 different movies in our top 3.
That's really
great.
good.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Sift Quest, where you get to ask us a question each week. The Sift Quest this week comes from Twitter.
So fun.
This is from Mason, and here's the question, and I found this really interesting. Mason says, you're stranded on a desert island with nothing but a solar-powered Blu-ray player for entertainment. Let's assume all of your basic needs like food and water are already taken care of. Because this is one of the brand new prototypes, it can only hold 24 hours of video data. You can put any type of video media on there, movies, TV shows, YouTube videos, or home videos, etc. What do you fill your 24 hours of video with? Barrett, let's start with you. What are you putting on your brand new solar-powered Blu-ray player?
Okay, the first couple of hours are going to be devoted to adult entertainment because
I have it on my list as well. I have it on my list
by
as
yourself.
well.
Yeah, right? I mean, you're on a deserted island. Okay, so once that's taken care of, then you move on to, you got to have some entertainment. So because I'm in a tropical setting, I'm going to watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall for a couple of hours.
Okay.
All right? So now we got 20 hours left. And those 20 hours are going to be devoted to watching YouTube videos of how to escape a deserted island.
That's 20 hours. 20 hours worth, huh?
I should know how to do it after that, right?
I actually, one thing on mine was how to build a raft. That was one of my YouTube videos that would definitely be on there. How to build a raft.
There's a YouTube channel. It's called Primitive Technologies. It's this kid who just builds everything from scrap. He doesn't use any tools. He makes tools out of rocks and sticks and stuff. It's one of the most fascinating channels. He doesn't talk or anything. Definitely look it up if you're interested in that.
Very cool.
What do you have?
I have 12 hours worth of friends and family recording messages for me to be on the island. Listen, if I'm going to survive, I'm going to need a reason to live, and I'm going to go back to that stuff more than I'm going to go back to the entertainment and those kind of things. So
that's interesting. I think that
12
would break
hours
me.
though.
Well, I listen. This is what I figured. I figured I would give my closest friends and family, because it doesn't say that you can't prepare for this, So I would give each of them. I would tell them the situation, that I was, going to be on an island forever, and I needed the will to live to get back to them, that kind of thing, and just record for as long as they wanted to for me to see at some point when I'm out there. And so then I would have them to kind of divvy out for those first few months and say, okay, now I'm going to hear from my dad. And so I figured there'd be about 24 people, about half an hour each. That's kind of what I figured it would take up about 12 hours.
Your family is way more entertaining than mine is, apparently.
Well, see, here's what I don't feel like entertainment would be my main thing I would need. I feel like I would need to know that there were people that I was connected to that loved me, those kind of things.
I think that would break me. Instead of, push me harder.
I don't know. Otherwise, I feel like I start, drawing a face on a volleyball or something. You know what I mean? It's just the actual human contact. Then after that, I had 2 episodes of Mystery Science Theater. And I would, pick my favorite 2 episodes of Mystery Science Theater because, there's something about being able to watch a movie and also kind of laugh along with friends at the movie that I would feel like I had companions again that were, with me, having this experience.
Yeah.
And plus it'd be a good way to laugh. And then the rest of the time I would have, I did have an hour of YouTube videos on how to build a boat, those kind of things. So when I was, wanting to escape, I could do that. And then the rest of the time is the X-Files, because I never get tired of the X-Files. So I'd have about seven episodes of the X-Files that I would pick, including Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose. But anyways, I'd pick my favorite X-Files episodes.
Nice. I went from this with the idea that I'm not going to leave the island, because I thought that's we're stranded forever.
Forever,
so
yeah.
I didn't know you could have YouTube videos to get you off the island, because for sure I would have done that instead of all this list that I made of just pure entertainment. So I'm having the full 9 hours of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because an incredible journey.
That's inspirational.
Yeah, exactly.
That is.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Then I'm going to have The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for a couple reasons. One, it's my favorite movie of all time, and 2, it's my mom's favorite movie of all time,
nice.
So I could have that kind of connection there as well. My favorite show of all time is House, so I would pick my 2 favorite House episodes, which is the part 1 and part 2 of Euphoria. It's such a good part episode. And then I'm going to pick my favorite comedy of all time, which is Hot Fuzz. Just, because I'm going to need something to make me laugh all the time. A lot of these are going to be things to make me laugh, just to keep me,
sure,
light-spirited. So I'm also going to have the complete first season of Harmon Quest, which is only 3 hours. So nice. I can go through the full season 1 and just be entertained. Then, since there's probably going to be an ocean around me, because I'm on an island, I'm going to be having Finding Nemo. Just,
Nice.
And then I'm going to fill 2.5 hours with Rick and Morty.
Okay.
As much as 2.5 hours can get me of Rick and Morty. Then I'm going to have the 1-minute clip of Tracy Porter intercepting Peyton Manning to clinch the Super Bowl 44 for the New Orleans Saints. And then I have an hour left, and I'm going to fill that with stuff I can't mention on this podcast, but it gets lonely on the island.
You gave me some thoughts. Now I want to change some of my answers. I want to trade in some X-Files episodes for Singing in the Rain and La La Land, because those are my two favorite musicals, and there's something about music that doesn't get old as fast as like a movie does. Like there's something about being able to sing the songs, the rewatchability, that kind of stuff, and there's such a lift of the spirit. So I'm going to trade a couple episodes of the X-Files in for those.
Good call.
Anything else you wanted to add on that?
Well, now that I know I can get off the island, I'm going to get rid of some stuff. Probably hard.
Listen, even if I can't get off the island, I want to make sure that if there's an opportunity, there's a tanker that drives by in the ocean, I want to know how to get on that sucker.
Yeah. Throw a How to Learn Morse Code video on there, all that kind of stuff. That's a good idea. Well, thanks, Mason. We appreciate the Sift Quest for this week. Thank you so much. If you want to get a question or a debate, solve a debate you're having with a friend, whatever the case may be, feel free to hit us up. You can do that on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. Mason's question was a little bit long for regular Twitter, so he actually DM'd me on Twitter. You're welcome to do that as well with your SiftQuest questions. You can also hit us up by email if you like. feedback@siftpop.com. We'll get the job done, and we'll have fun discussing your Sift Quest. All right, on to the buried treasure, guys. What is that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to let people know about this week?
Who's going first?
Why don't you go first, Andrew?
I'm going to go with the movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it was just on TV the other day, and it had been forever since I've seen it. Tony Scott's Man on Fire, starring Denzel Washington and Christopher Walken. Love that movie so much, and it's, the hunt to try and get the little girl back. Dakota Fanning does a great job in that movie. I think that's one of her first film roles, actually. But this is sad Denzel, and whenever he does sad Denzel, I think he just, is so magnanimous and magnetic to watch. I think he's brilliant. Christopher Walken, being Christopher Walken, you can't hate the guy. And I really loved Tony Scott movies. I thought he had a very interesting way of actually filming his movies. And the city itself in Mexico, it really became a character in that movie. And just his whole journey of trying to get that little girl back, and how he just would stop at nothing. And he was just a force.
It's a great movie.
He was a force of nature. I love that movie so much.
No, that's a great choice. I'll let you go last, Barrett. I'll go ahead and do mine. My buried treasure is I'm getting my Netflix right now. They have released so many new seasons of stuff that I love, and so I'm like 3 or 4 episodes into House of Cards' new season. I binge watched the entire new season of Kimmy Schmidt. Loved that. I'm about 5 episodes into the new Master of None season. All 3 of those are shows that continue to amaze me. Although I have to say, House of Cards so far hasn't really grabbed me, and I wonder if a lot of it has to do with the political environment we find ourselves in for real right now.
That's kind of the problem with that show at this point.
And so it hasn't necessarily. I'm not necessarily enjoying that as much as the others. But man, is Kimmy Schmidt a well-written show? That show is so brilliant. There's so much I love about that. It makes me okay that 30 Rock isn't around anymore, because it's got that same kind of thing, and I feel like, okay, at least I'm getting that really sharp, brilliant humor somewhere,
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they're both Tina Fey, aren't they?
They're both Tina Fey.
Yeah, so I guess that makes total sense. But in Master of None, I thought the first season was good. I think the episodes I've seen so far this season are great. Like, he is approaching...
Absolutely.
Aziz is approaching this next level of really exploring some truth in his life and in what it means to be human, and doing it in a really creative way. I'm really enjoying Master of None as well.
Yeah, no, that second season is absolutely... It'll blow you away.
Yeah. What do you got, Barrett? What's your buried treasure?
Well, I've got the actual media, but I've got a way to consume it too. So what I would recommend is for everyone, right before they go to sleep, is to watch 1997's Face Off. because you're going to be a little bit silly, you're going to be a little bit punchy when you're about ready for bed, and it's going to be hilarious to you. This is prime Nicolas Cage. This is prime John Travolta, and I really am convinced that even though he's won an Oscar for something else, I don't think Nick Cage has ever had a better acting job than that drug scene in Face Off when he like swallows the powdered whatever it is and is like, I'm going to take his face off. And oh my God, he's stumbling around. It's gorgeous. You should watch it.
Barrett, you've obviously never watched Left Behind, because I mean, Nick Cage in the Left Behind movie is just premium Nick Cage. So.
I think he literally has a phone hanging off of his ear during that movie, doesn't
yes,
he?
I think he literally does.
My go-to Nick Cage is Wicker Man.
Nice.
Not the
Oh,
bees.
yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the bees.
What an interesting dude, man. Wow. He's been in some great movies, in some awful movies, in
Awfully great movies.
some awfully great movies.
Yeah.
So, way to go. Great suggestion. So, not only Face Off, but you have to watch it right before bed. That's the buried treasure.
That's right.
All right. Good to know. We did it, guys.
Oh, hey.
We did a podcast.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all of us. We all deserve pats on the back. Thanks so much for joining us today for Siftpop. It is part of the Studio DNA podcast network. You can find out more about other live and later shows on the network by following the feed at mixlr.com/studiodna. That's mixlr.com/studiodna. Huge thanks again to today's guru, Barrett from MusicVideoSins.
Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what do you got to let people know what you do? What do you got to plug?
Well, if you like you some podcasts, we got one of them too. It's the Sincast, SINCAST, and it's me and the boys from CinemaSins talking about movies. Occasionally, you'll get a reference bomb to an Aaron Dicer, and the YouTube channel is YouTube CinemaSins or MusicVideoSins. Yeah, check it out. We've got some fun stuff happening.
Much love and gratitude as well to our Patreon supporters for giving monthly to make this show and others on the network possible. Support starts at $3 a month. Comes with some pretty fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/studiodna. There are a lot of ways to connect with us. You can do it at SoundCloud. You can tweet at us. You can do it in iTunes in the comments, or you can email us at feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like this too, so let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than jumping 15 feet in the air, doing a perfect backflip while shooting 3 arrows at the same time. Spoiler chat for this week's movie should be next in your podcast feed, and we will see you back next week for maybe some talk on The Mummy. The Mummy. Tom Cruise is The Mummy.